What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction and back with some punk rock. And we're back with 10 Foot Pole. And in fact, I have the CD case, but I forgot to grab it before I put Luke on my lap. So now I have to wheel all the way over here. So yes, this is from the album Unleashed, 1997. It's the first album they put out after Scott Radinsky left the group. I think I talked about this before, but he was the, I think, singer. He was one of the band members when they started as Scared Straight, I think in the early 90s, and then they changed their name to 10 Foot Pole. They released another album called Rev. It's one of my very favorites. And then he was a major league pitcher at the time, I think a relief pitcher, and the band wanted to tour more and do more shows, but because of his 8 or 9 month schedule during the year as a pitcher for a major league baseball team, he couldn't tour in the same way they wanted to, so they went separate ways. I think he became the singer of Pulley, and there's another band that I'm blanking on that he might be involved in. But 10 Foot Pole went on and they replaced him. I do think Rev is fantastic, but I also enjoy at least the first couple albums after the split, and Unleashed I think is my favorite of the post-Radinsky period. We're going to hear a tune called Denial. Now this song, and in fact I don't have the disc anymore. I ripped it onto my computer long ago, thankfully, and I have the front cover up on my wall, but I don't have the disc itself. The album, and I think the next album, and maybe Rev as well. I know Rev and this album, Unleashed, are on Epitaph, Brett Gurowitz's label, so shout out to Brett. But yes, the tune Denial is a lyrically pretty short tune. There's not all that many lines in it, but I think it is very well written. And it's the idea that maybe some people don't want to know the harsh realities of life. So the narrator's saying, sometimes I just like to hide from that. I just like to, the out of sight, out of mind thing. I don't want to know all of life's unpleasantries, because once you learn them, you can't go back. There's an innocence that is lost, and at that point, you can't help but look. And it talks about both, details in your life, but also learning histories about things, where it's like once you learn a more brutal history behind something, then again, you can't really go back. You can't see it the way you did before. And then where you might have had trust in things and people and history, suddenly you have paranoia. Suddenly you don't trust anything because you've learned about the corruption or the what is it, the glare behind a smile. I forget exactly what the line is, but yeah, it's a song that speaks to our perception, and then it gets to the end and it becomes more personal. It's saying I've learned everybody has a dark side, please don't show me yours, because if I learn that I can't trust you, then again, I'm going to become paranoid about everything. So there's a larger scale and a personal scale that this concept plays out on. So yeah, the idea of wanting to be an ostrich with your head in the sand, there's some appeal to that, but of course, when you do learn things, then you can't look away, and then maybe you're inclined to be less trusting and less comfortable in your life because you do know the harsh realities and the unpleasantries. But the phrasing and the poetry of the actual lines in the song is better than the way I've just explained it, so let's give it a listen. This is 10 Foot Pole, the track is Denial, and it's from their 1997 album Unleashed.
Funny how a little truth can put things in perspective. Usually I try to hide from all of life's unpleasantries, like loves and lies and users. Try to ignore all the abuses, but sometimes you just slap me in the face, and I can't hide. Trying to deny deception, but now I see the other side. I can't hide. Try to regain my innocence. Something's changed inside. a cut will be. Trust dies and paranoia takes its place. And I can't hide. Tried to deny inception, but now I see the other side. I can't hide. Tried to regain my innocence. Something changed inside.
Tune. Absolute tune. Yeah, I love this album. I haven't listened to it in a while, so I feel like maybe now I'm going to have to come back for a few more reactions. I'm wondering, I know I did at least 2 from Rev, maybe 3, but perhaps this is my first from this album. Daddy's another song I like a lot on here, but seriously, the whole album is great. And yeah, as I said, I think it's very well written. There's a bit of Depeche Mode's Policy of Truth in the lyrics where it's like, yeah, like you want to know the truth, but sometimes when you do, you feel worse than before you knew it. And maybe if you could go back again, you'd actually choose to remain ignorant, or you just, you know what, don't tell me, because if you tell me, it might hurt, it might bring about a changed perspective. I'm not going to have that innocence anymore, and I'm not going to have the choice. So yes, there's a bit of that concept in the song, but I do also like that there's a social or even political verse in there, the idea about learning secret histories and learning about, what's really behind the thin veil of diplomacy and again, what was it? Something about like the biting something behind the smile, and like the warm handshake, which is superficial and hides a deeper reality, and a more brutal one, an exploitative one. And again, once you learn that, the superficial no longer has the same meaning. You can't trust it in the same way. And then taking it down to the personal level and talking about another person, you know what, like, you have a dark side, okay, fine, like, I don't want to know what it is, because if I learn it, then I'm not going to be able to look at you the same way, and I don't want to have to go down that road. So I like the emotional complexity of the song, and I do also like the drumming. That's another thing I'm remembering about this album in particular. There's, I think, faster songs on this album overall. I think Rev has some fast songs too, but I feel like this album is maybe a bit faster, and the drums just, they have a good like recording quality to them. They pop, if you will. And I do like the bass. There's a couple moments where the bass was standing out to me. Those like long strokes of the bass behind the faster guitar and the drums. And I especially love that mellow breakdown section, which sort of comes out of nowhere the first time you hear the song. It's like, oh, like, I like this. I wasn't prepared for this, so I really do enjoy that. Top tune, shout out to 10 Foot Pole. Again, after Insider, which is the next album after this, I just sort of stopped following them. Not because I didn't like it, although I will say I thought Insider wasn't quite as good as Unleashed here. But it was more, again, I got turntables in '98, I was beginning to DJ, and I was still, involved in some other punk bands, following them, and for whatever reason, I just didn't continue to buy their albums. But I do think they've released multiple more albums after Unleashed, so perhaps at some point I can catch up, and perhaps this deep dive will be part of that process. So in any case, let me know what you think, and Luca and I will see you next time. Peace.